petición. Estamos con intérpretes disponibles. Por favor, levanten sus manos para recibir el equipo necesario.
What? No, it's
Hi, yes, my name is Selena. I'm with the Office of Equity and Inclusion. Me llamo Selena con esta oficina de equidad y inclusión. While today's conversation is primarily focused on nonprofit organizations, we do have representatives from the following departments: that will be available for you to connect with during or after today's presentation. We have representatives from 311 CCX, Office of Budget and Management Services, Office of Arts and Culture, Office of Community Care and Empowerment, Office of Community Police Oversight, Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability, Office of Equity and Inclusion, Office of Procurement Services, as well as members from our grant compliance task force. In today's conversation, we'll share an update on the city's response to recent federal executive orders and related compliance steps. Just as important, we'll collect your feedback on how the city can better support economic opportunity and public safety for all residents. We'll preview a new framework the city is considering to guide plans, programs, and future investments, and we want your input on it. We'll have time where we will be able to answer 3 questions as a group. However, if we don't get to your question, we will have staff behind, or you can have the option by submitting your question via QR code so that staff can address it directly. Now I will hand it over to Assistant City Manager Liz Pereira, who will be providing an overview of the executive orders and the city's response.
Thank you, Selena. Yay! Thank you, Selena.
Woo!
I will do anything for Selena. If you know that inside joke, then you know. Very popular movie on the life of Selena Quintanilla. But no, Selena is wonderful. Thank you for greeting us all, making us feel welcome. I also want to thank Ashley Hutto and her team here at the West Dallas Multicultural Center for welcoming us all in Jessica Delishaw's portfolio. And we're trying something new. Each community session, this is a series of 5, and today we're at five sessions, and today is the 5th. We have incorporated or integrated some ideas that we're receiving from our participants, and also integrated the insights that we're gaining from each one of our participants. For example, on Saturday, we heard a very good point about what are we doing to work with our grassroots neighborhood nonprofits. How do we integrate them into our future plans for driving impact and closing disparities? Each one of these events has given us food for thought that we are taking very seriously, quite honestly, and thinking that we are using these moments of challenge, if you will, as moments of opportunity to make our system stronger, more resilient, and better equipped to serve those in our city, which is the reason why we are in these roles. Again, my name is Liz Pereira. I serve as one of the assistant city managers at the city of Dallas. And as Selena said, we're joined by a number of our departments who are here this evening. We have a very packed program, but we hope that you stay afterward to join us for a little bit of a decompress, what somebody in one of our audiences called a let out, or just a coffee, and chat with each other. So thank you again, our Office of Community Care and Empowerment team, Ashley, for providing the refreshments following our session today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the summary of federal executive orders. And if you have been to one of these, you have heard this several times. so I'm sorry if I'm being repetitive, but we think it's very important for our residents, our community, and our city personnel to understand the reasons why we're here today. We've been following since January 2025 changes that are happening at the federal level, right? Changes in executive order implementation alongside federal department grant compliance requirements. And so, if you go to the next slide, please. Oh, I have it. Wait, excuse me. Am I clicking the wrong click?
On the side.
So there's a few that we're going to highlight today because they impact our work with equity and inclusion. And one is diversity, equity, and inclusion, Executive Order 14173, which is titled Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity, Federal Grant Requirements. So essentially what it's saying is that our city cannot operate programs that promote or advance illegal DEI ideology that might be in violation of federal anti-discrimination laws if we are receiving federal funds. And we all know that we do receive quite a few dollars in federal funds to the tune of over $100 million annually. So, the city cannot allocate contracts or benefits based on what they call suspect classifications, including race, sex, national origin, or religion. What is permissible is veteran status, disability, and socioeconomic status. There's another immigration compliance executive order, 14218, and essentially what it reads is saying that localities cannot operate programs that benefit or incentivize illegal immigration. And then for HUD funding, it may not be used in ways that by design or effect subsidize or promote undocumented migration. So we receive HUD funding. We've been following the HUD rules for as long as we have received HUD funding, and we qualified all of our participants who received in that funding, and will continue to do so. And also, it says the city must support DHS's efforts to locate and investigate undocumented residents. And if you have been following these issues since 2017, we've had a state law, which was also known as SB4 at the time, that codified those provisions as well. We also know that we have to change our business inclusion development policy such that we cannot score or preference any minority, women, and owned businesses based on race, sex, national origin, or religion, or afford points in proposal evaluations. However, we are still required by federal law to make sure that people have access, all people have access to these programs, small minority women and veteran-owned businesses. And so you're going to hear a little bit tonight about how we are aligning our business procurement policies for small businesses. So we continue to monitor these executive orders because there's multiple ones that have already been published, and hopefully some that will still come out. And so in June 25th, 2025, the City Council issued a resolution. And what it said was, directed the city manager to review and evaluate city programs and policies to determine whether any adjustments needed to be made to our programs, our policies, and to take any temporary operational actions necessary to ensure that our city programs and policies comply with these federal directives. It also said that we needed to come back and brief our city council no later than August 20th, 2025, and provide some recommended changes. So our team, the Grant Compliance Task Force, made that decision on August 6th. We informed the council that we were going to be temporarily suspending many of our programs, policies that could be implicated as a result of these federal directives, and that we would then engage our communities to help gain stakeholder input on how we would move forward and come back to council thereafter. And so now we're scheduled to come back to council on October 1st to brief them on what we have gleaned from all of these community sessions, and also to provide some recommendations about how we might be shifting our policies, moving ahead. And that's on October 1st. You may have heard September 17th, but we have rescheduled that because our council is scheduled to vote on our budget for the coming year on September 17th. So we wanted to prioritize the budget and then bring this back to council on October 1st. So just as a high-level summary, we want you to know that, yes, there's a temporary suspension of our business inclusion development policy for small businesses in our communities. There's a temporary suspension of our racial equity plan, as well as our equity impact assessment tool that we use to make investments within the communities. And that we are now in the process of building new policies, new frameworks for moving ahead. And you're gonna hear some of my colleagues speak about some of those new policies, those new frameworks, those new timelines that we're moving forward with ahead. We're gonna use this opportunity, this challenge rather, to provide us with the opportunity to align our programs with these directives as needed by law. However, we do not want to diminish the impact that we have all worked on together to build momentum around how do we close disparities within our cities. And so collectively, our intention is that you give us your feedback, honest feedback, in a trusted space here so that we can do this work together. It's an iterative process. You know, nothing is currently set in stone. Everything here is subject to change because we have these ideas. You may have ideas. We gotta go take them back and build policies and build programs. We have to share them with our lawyers. They have to review them for legal compliance. Then we have to take them back to our council, and we have to give us their input, right? So this is still a process that's changing as we move along. But people say, are you really gonna take my input into consideration? That's a good question. And it's one that I want you to tell us at the end of this process that you saw your input being incorporated into the recommendations that we provide our council. We won't know until we know, right? And so we thank you for being here, for trusting us with your time and your ideas. We're going to have throughout this evening tonight some time to complete a survey. That survey is pretty brief, it's 7 minutes long. But it's going to be the data that we use to make some decisions about the policy direction that we're moving in. And so with that, I'd now like to talk a little bit about what's changing as regards to the City of Dallas Racial Equity Plan. May I see a raise of hands of people who know that the city has a racial equity plan? A good majority. And so it was adopted by the City Council in August of 2022. And it is a citywide plan. Every one of our departments that report to the city manager participated in this plan. Everybody that we could touch gave input into this plan. We did extensive community engagement around it. And the whole purpose of our REP, is what we call it, is to address disparities in outcomes among racial and ethnic populations of our city. We know that is a persistent issue that continues to this day, where we need to address as a city and invest in those communities that have been underserved historically. And so we identified mid and long-term big audacious goals. And some of these goals you may see reflected perhaps in the drivers of opportunity that Jessica Galashaw is going to speak to you a little bit about. And we also had department progress measures, and these are 3, 5, and 7-year goals that each department said, we're going to commit to completing this department progress measure. Well, people say, well, what happened with that? Many of our departments have already completed their department progress measures if they were on the 3 and 5-year timeline. For those longer ones that are 7 years in nature, they may not have been completed, but that doesn't mean that each department is just going to discard those department progress measures. What we have challenged our department to do is to go look at their department progress measures, to reassess where we need to make some changes based on the criteria for compliance that we're challenged with, and go forward and use new ways to impact change. And so I think you're gonna hear from Julia tonight. She's gonna talk about how is Office of Arts and Culture now talking about how are they assessing arts funding for impact and access. They're being creative, intentional, thoughtful, and compliant around how they're looking at impact and access in the space. And all of our departments are being challenged with the same goal here. And so that's what we're doing, and we continue to draw this new framework, but the REP is going to be, it's going to be sunsetting, because much of what it is really based on indicators that we can no longer use. So we're gonna build a new framework, and we're gonna build back what we can do together. So I wanted to be quite transparent with you so that you know when you look to our website, you might not see the REP in a few months, but we hope that you will see something that is going to be as impactful as we intended for it to be. And now we're going to transition over to Julia Hosh. She's our Cultural Programs Manager for the Office of Arts and Culture. I think she's accompanied by a very important person, and
I am, so it's okay if I talk from over here, just so that a very important person can continue her speech. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Julia Hosh-Stain. I am the Cultural Funding Programs Manager for the City of Dallas, and it is an honor and a privilege to be with you this evening. This is my daughter, Dia Kate. She's a new Dallas resident, so gotta get her into civic engagement right now, as much as we can before. I will apologize in advance that I will not be able to stay for the let out because it's going to be bath time, and that is a very real and structured thing in my house. So please accept my forgiveness and my email, which will be on the next slide. So I'd love to tell you about the Office of Arts and Culture and the way that we are adapting to the executive orders that PCM City of Pereira talked about earlier. The first thing that we thought really carefully about was how do we think about how we grade basically all of the wonderful funding proposals that come to us. How do we make sure that they are all compliant and that we can move forward? The first program that we talked about was Culture of Value. Out of a show of hands, has anybody heard or interacted with the Culture of Value program? A few, wonderful. Well, we are so delighted to be able to be doing that again this year. It was supposed to be in August. We needed just one more second to really read the guidelines carefully and make sure that we were allocating in a way that fit all our executive orders. And we are, so we are going to move on ahead. So the month of November this year, we hope you'll join us in libraries and rec centers all over the city. There will be at least 2 artistic or cultural events in every single district of Dallas in the month of November. So for this program, we place artists to do one day, one time pop-up events, ideally in your local library and rec centers. So that calendar will be coming out very soon. We're really delighted to continue this program. It will be happening in November. And again, the program is also planned to be in the summer of 2026, and it will stay there. So we will have 2 culture values coming up in this fiscal year, which is really exciting for us. The second program that we looked at really carefully was the Cultural Organizations Program. This is our largest program. It serves organizations that are at least 3 years old, have a revenue of at least $100,000 a year, have an employee, and are serving as cultural flagship organizations in the city of Dallas. This program, we're going to keep rolling right along. We very carefully worked with our task force and our community to make sure that all of the points that we awarded are in line with these executive orders as they were planned, and ended up making just a few adjustments that still honor the spirit of sharing the wealth of the arts across Dallas even if our language is a little bit more careful. So we are delighted to say that won't be delayed at all, and you can look forward to enjoying arts and culture from these flagship organizations all year long. The last one is called Arts Activate. Who's familiar with this program? Okay, this is the one that we heard the most feedback from community members, and we are delighted to get this back on the road. So this traditionally has 3 rounds of funding that happen in a given year. We're going to keep doing that. Round 1, we've already accepted those applications. We will announce them a little later because, again, we needed to make sure that the guidelines were compliant to those, but we will announce those awards winners on November 7th for projects that can start as early as December 1st to get those contracts. Our round 2 opens tomorrow. So if you are interested, yes, it's very exciting. So if you are interested in applying to Arts Activate, that will open tomorrow evening. And it will stay open for a few weeks, and we will make those announcements in December. So it will be a quick run, but we will get it in there. Round 3 is more or less not moving, and it will open in February for projects that start next summer. This is part of it, so sorry. And that will take us through all of the traditional funding programs that we have. There's only one outstanding program called the Cultural Artists Program, or CAP. That one, we are still working with our task force to make sure that it is compliant. And as soon as we can get that up and running back for you, we will as well. So this is how we sort of tackle each of these. Many questions that you may have, especially if you are a practicing artist or represent an organization, may need to be answered one-on-one, and we are so happy to do that and be with you. We will have a lot of information sessions for round 2 of our Activate. Will be posted online tomorrow. And we are answering questions one-on-one as fast as we possibly can. You can go to the next slide. It will tell you how to reach us. Perfect. To get on our newsletter and be updated with all of these changes that we're doing, please visit that QR code. Or you can go to dow.city Arts Update 25. Additionally, if you have other program questions, especially about your application or your programs that you want to continue to see, you can send us an email to oacfundingprograms@dallas.gov. That you reach me and my team, and we are working really hard to answer everybody's emails within 72 hours. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you. We really look forward to resuming all of our programming like you've expected, and are happy to share those with you this year. Thanks for your time.
So, good evening. Everybody hear me? Okay. Good evening. My name is Marissa Sanchez. I'm the Assistant Director in the Office of Procurement Services. I oversee the business can you hear me? I can hear you. I'm just gonna grab it. Yeah. Okay. Try that again. So, thank you all for being here this evening. My name is Marissa Sanchez. I'm the Assistant Director in the Office of Procurement Services. I oversee the Business Enterprise Hub. The Business Enterprise Hub works specifically with the Business Inclusion and Development Policy, which is what the city enacted in 2008 to promote the inclusion of minority and women-owned businesses. So I'm going to dive into that a little bit and talk about what we're doing as a result of the current federal actions. So for years, the city operated under the BIT policy, which was adopted again in 2008. This policy set forth participation goals. It had specific goals per category for participation of these minority and women-owned businesses that would be included into the city's contracts. What that did was not only give points in solicitation processes for their team makeup, but it also required a good faith effort. So what that means is that if for some reason the participation goals were not met, we needed to have a way to oversee those contracts and understand why the goals weren't met. Look for new opportunities for subcontractors, subconsultants, and look at the way that we actually lay out our contracts and see what's available for the vending community in our area. So to support the current shift, what we're doing is engaging a national firm to help us develop our new program, which is going to transition from being a minority and women-owned inclusion program to a small and local vendor program. So we know that many of the MWBE firms in the area are also small businesses. That can fall under the federal guidelines of the 8A program, which is going to limit the number of employees or revenue. But we also want to ensure that the larger MWBE firms are also still incorporated into the city's contracting opportunities. There may not be specific MWBE goals, but we'll look for mentor protege opportunities, we'll look for evaluation points possibly be included. And so what we're doing now is developing the framework for the new program. There's been a series of stakeholder meetings to gain input from the business community, from the small business community, from the community at large to tell us what should this new program look like. How should we develop these contracting opportunities? Is there something that would help small businesses have a greater advantage, such as set-asides for contracts under a certain threshold? Do we need to look at unbundling contracts? So instead of everybody working with a prime vendor, we would now break it up and have multiple vendors overseeing smaller parts of the contract. So the city is going to work with Civic Initiatives, which is made up of consultants who have worked with other agencies and cities across the nation. For the city of Dallas, we know that within this region, many of our partner agencies, such as Dallas County, such as EFW, already have small business programs. So this isn't something that's new to the area. Many of our MWBEs that do qualify for small business certification have multiple certifications already, so we will work with them to transition into that new program. Additionally, the city is launching the Dallas Capacity Building Collaborative. And what that's going to do is actually take it a step further. When we talk about the small business program, that is one for contracting opportunities. But when we talk about the Dallas Capacity Building Collaborative, what we're looking at is what will help these businesses not only obtain contracts, but continue to be successful. So what is the technical assistance that's needed for them? What is the different support services that they may have a need for as well? So what we'll do is work with other agencies such as Dallas College, the SBA, and other nonprofits that we currently work with to continue to offer those support services. The city already does a lot of these programs now, such as the Dallas Accelerator program, which offers that technical service to businesses. What we'll do now is make a more inclusive program to actually widen the net of those smaller businesses and local vendors. So we will be continuing to engage in stakeholder sessions as we develop a new framework and have that ready hopefully before the end of the year, and then bring that to council for review and adoption when it's ready. Glad to be with everyone. Now I'm going to turn it over to David. Oh, sorry, David.
Robert, David, as long as you call me for dinner,
I was looking at Robert and David.
Good evening, my name is David Cortinas. I am with Budget Management Services. And first of all, I want to say thank you for allowing us to be here and giving us some of your time. What a good group. What a good group. Give yourselves a round of applause. I didn't say this. It's great to see a community that's involved and active. Again, my name is David Cortinas. I am with the Budget Management Services. And the purpose of my presentation is to provide an update on the city's 5-year consolidation plan, which is also called just a consolidation plan. You know, the city receives a number of grants from the federal government, and it's important that we comply with the new federal directives. Specifically, HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, as a city, it works with the CON plan, and it's formed by many cities' policies, programs, and plans. So this plan is a comprehensive overall plan for the next 5 years that the city works with. As the plans and programs and policies change, it's important that we also change with the new federal directives. So the consolidation plan, again, is a comprehensive strategic plan that does three things. It identifies community needs, prioritizes those needs, and then creates a plan to address those needs. Needs such as affordable housing, homelessness, human and social services, public improvements, and infrastructure. The consolidated plan is made up of 4 grants totaling about $29 million over last year and hopefully next year is estimated. CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, Home, ESG, which is the Emergency Solutions Grant, and HOPWA, which is, this is part of housing opportunities for people with AIDS. CDBG covers things like housing, human and social services needs, economic development, and public improvement. The Home is affordable housing. ESG covers the homelessness, and again, HOPWA covers housing with persons with medical diagnosis. So what have we done so far to address this at this time? First thing is on August the 8th, City Council approved the initial consideration and called a public hearing for changes needed in the process. I apologize. On August the 8th, the City Council approved the budget for the comp plan. And we had to turn that in, we had to turn it in early, so we went ahead and got that done. But on August the 27th, City Council approved the initial consideration and called a public hearing for changes needed in the process. Now the next step is to add another public hearing at the next council meeting. That is my part of HUD. I'm going to turn it over now to, is it Sarah? October the 8th at this time. Yes, of course. Things can change. At this time, I'd like to go over to Sarah Cotton Nelson with High Flying Strategies regarding procurement services. Is that correct? Partnerships. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Page of what?
Hello, I'm Sarah Cotton Nelson. I know some of you from my time. I spent 14 years at Communities Foundation of Texas. And one of the reasons why I'm here, I am not an employee of the city. I'm a partner with the city, and I have been working with the city for a long time. I really think that Liz and I I was working with the city a little bit before Liz came back to the city, but I think that was in 2017. We were beginning the work on the racial equity plan, and I was at Communities Foundation of Texas then, and have been working on first on the racial equity indicators, then on the racial equity plan since really 2016 when that began the year before. One thing that I can say standing up here, or I'm going to take the liberty to say standing up here as not an employee of the city, is how I felt when I first heard about these changes coming down from the federal government. I am a resident of Dallas. I am a great lover of Dallas. I am not from here originally, but I got here as soon as I could, and I've now been here 27 years. And I have been working tirelessly on moving the needle on all of these equity issues. And so when I first heard that there were going to be these federal changes, I mean, speaking from me as a resident and as a person, the only word is dismay. I mean, and I felt that dismay deep in my heart and deep in my bones because I really have believed in what the city has been doing to move the needle on opportunity. And it really stopped me, and I felt like I was really in the red, and, where is this going and what's gonna happen next? I feel like it's important to say that because the tenor and tone of this meeting that you're hearing from the city today is upbeat and seems like, a little chipper. And the truth is, I feel that way now because of the work the city has been putting into this. And I just want to affirm, if you're still in the place of feeling dismay and sadness and anger and frustration, that is okay too, because that is where I was. And I think that part of why I moved into a different place is number one, I think with a lot of things when it comes to change, it's it's not the change you want to be always, but it's what's the change you have to accept. And I finally come to recognize, like, this, federal changes thing is a genie that cannot be put back in the bottle. So we have to make the changes, we can't afford to lose the federal money, and so what are we gonna do about that? And at the same time, every moment of stress and strain like this, really, while it is initially a problem and a challenge, it's also an opportunity. And so what we're going to hear next about what the city has done to develop a resident survey and that kind of thing, you'll see has been making my heart glad that we are going to make hay, not just while the sun is shining, but also while it's raining. We're going to do things that are productive, that are going to make our next efforts even better. And so I have crossed sort of the rainbow bridge to, I think things are gonna be okay, but it's okay if you're not there. I hope that you will come along and continue to ask questions, because it's a lot to absorb. I will say, as a part of this process, beginning sort of at the beginning of this year as things began to change, we already had some meetings set up with thought leaders from across Dallas, and if you're someone who can read small print from far away, this is a great slide. If not, they are going to share this slide deck, and you can get it, because I would love for you to see all of the names of the Dallas anchor institutions that are on this list, that when the city manager called a meeting with the Citizens Council, these people showed up, and they really showed up. We had a number of long and deep meetings with these anchor institutions to say, what are your organizations facing? What are your organizations doing with the challenges of the current environment? And what are you going to do next? And what do you need to be a great partner in what is to come about creating more opportunities for all in Dallas? And I can tell you that every single person at every single one of these meetings believes that that is important, that there should be opportunities for all across this great city, to the nth degree, that there was complete solidarity on that. And if we can't use certain words because they're on a, no-say list or something, we just have to recognize that's the new normal, even though sometimes it's a little humorous. I'm just gonna tell you, in a horrifying, humorous kind of way. Like a great example is someone was sharing that a grant contract was kicked back because transition things are now not something that the government wants to fund, but the grant said that they were going to help high schoolers transition from high school to college well, and it got kicked back because of, it was like an AI generated thing. So there is some level of ridiculous. I mean, I also personally, again, as a resident and not as a city partner, I was both horrified and found it a little humorous that now I'm in as a woman, I'm in a suspect category or something. Like, maybe I need a t-shirt, maybe I need a t-shirt about being in the suspect category. But all that being said, there are the anchor institutions in town are on board with figuring out what do we do next so that we continue to work on opportunities for all, no matter what. And we are looking to release some data that talks about what is the business case for creating economic opportunity for all, and to find more ways to engage people across the city, across the nonprofit sector, across the business sector, and across all of the key constituents in town, which includes citizens like you. So thank you for showing up. I do hope that if you have not taken the survey yet, you will, and that you will encourage others to do so, because it is a great way to feed back your voice, your thoughts, and your desires into the system in a way that then helps and enables the city to pay attention to them. Thank you. I will now invite Jessica Galashaw to introduce the data that has been used to identify resident needs and a new framework for building opportunities in Dallas. It is called Drivers of Opportunity, that I think looks really good. Would love to hear if you think it looks good too, but I also would love to hear if you don't think it looks good, because if something is wrong, a word is striking you just the wrong way, or also you think something is missing, please speak up. Because the truth is, if you see something is missing, your noticing is representative of someone else who is not here to say so as well. So please, we want to hear your voice. Jessica.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Thank you, Sarah. And my name is Jessica Galashaw, and I am the Director of the Office of Community Care and Empowerment for the City of Dallas. And I am here to talk a little bit, as Sarah noted, about the Drivers of Opportunity. So with this work around federal compliance and federal review, city staff were also doing a lot of work to research options for a legally resilient and federally compliant framework. So it was around this time that we also got the results from the citywide survey, which we conduct annually as part of the budget process. And those were published as well. And so that actually helped inform the work that we were doing here. It's conducted annually, and it's actually with efforts to have representative sampling across Dallas. So it is a pretty strong data tool for us. And the residents really shared the areas that they wanted us to focus on. And you'll see up here that the top priorities identified for overall satisfaction are maintenance of infrastructure, police services, social services, traffic management, and housing. And so we looked with these priorities in mind for a framework that we could develop to advance this effort. And we ended up turning back to, it clicks on that. Somebody's clicking. Okay, sorry. And so we ended up turning back to the Drivers of Poverty Foundation. So this was efforts that were undertaken back around 2016 and into 2017 when the City of Dallas partnered with a number of community leaders, a very broad kind of swath of leaders in the community, to create this framework to confront the rising rates of poverty in our city and the unfortunately high ranking we had among the 30 cities in terms of poverty and child poverty in particular. And so this has really become foundational work for us in understanding what are some root causes of poverty in our community and how we can address disparities in outcomes. Now, the Drivers of Poverty framework, of course, addresses root causes and is really strong on identifying problems, but it's not very strong on identifying potential solutions. And so that's why we are shifting our focus and proposing a Drivers of Opportunity framework to move forward with instead. And so what is Drivers of Opportunity? So Drivers of Opportunity, again, builds on that initial work from 2017, and it evolves our question from what holds communities back to what moves communities forward. It really seeks to clarify the role of the city specifically as convener and catalyst for sustained change and impact. It's data-driven, and it focuses on strategies that are really seeking to address self-sufficiency, employment potential, and household wealth, especially for residents with the greatest levels of need. So in this next slide, you're going to be able to see how these drivers of opportunity kind of align with those previously identified drivers of poverty. I'll give you a second on this slide here, but on the left you kind of see these are the drivers of poverty: income, transportation, home ownership, concentrated poverty, children in poverty, educational attainment, English language proficiency, teen birth rate, single women, heads of household. There's a lot. I know I read that fast. Well, but they can also read it on the screen.
We were told we needed to slow down in the previous section.
And then we see the aligned drivers of opportunity, which you have, or you should have handouts as you came in, and if you don't, there's probably people who can like bring you one if you want to throw your hand up and ask for one to be brought to you. And so these are the drivers of poverty that we've identified to moving forward that Dallas could help us to aspire towards. Sorry, drivers of opportunity. See, it's very similar words. I got a little mixed up, excuse me.
Okay.
So moving to the next slide, we want to talk a little bit about, again, we identified that the City of Dallas doesn't necessarily have to be out in the forefront in terms of leading on every issue. We don't have to own every outcome. And we can also use our opportunity as a city to influence these opportunities. And so we also looked at this to identify 3 kind of categories of where the city's role might be to support these efforts for residents. So the first category we identified is city leadership driven. The second we identified is collaborative leadership. And then the third is areas where the city could provide support or amplification to projects for outcomes. So if you look at that, you'll see that we have identified things like safety from crime and civic participation as being critical areas where the city really should take a leading role. Gainful employment is another category. You can see kind of the coding here. If you can't quite see it at the bottom, the green are city leadership driven, the blue are collaborative leadership, and then the yellow are city support. And this is the framework that we've identified, and this is a first version framework. So we are still accepting insight, and we've actually gotten insight, I think, in every single one of these conversations that we've had that is going to influence exactly what that looks like when we bring forward another iteration of it. And so our areas are, again, gainful employment, high quality education, and that one is not necessarily city driven because we are not providers of education. However, we can amplify and support that work. Opportunity rich neighborhoods, which is a lot of opportunity, of course, for the city to really drive impact and influence. Healthy environments and healthcare, generally speaking, that one's a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of the role of the city, but there's a lot of opportunity for city engagement. And then public safety and well-being. So these are those categories, and again, you also have them in your handouts. And so at this point, we want to have you all help grade our homework. And so Prateeksha is going to come up here and she's going to show you our engagement tool that we're using to receive your input.
Hello, everybody. I'm Prateeksha Mukari. I'm with the Office of Equity and Inclusion. And thank you so much, Jessica. So this is the portion of our session today where you'll be able to put in your input and give us your feedback. So by scanning this QR code, you'll be taken to a survey where you'll be asked a series of questions, and you'll be able to provide your feedback on driving opportunities that we just shared. Did everybody get a chance to scan? And we also have paper copies, so if anybody would like access to paper copies of the survey, we can pass those out as well. And if you would like it in a different language, we do have a few different languages available for our survey.
It's in multiple languages online.
Yes, it is in multiple different languages online, so if you would like assistance with us showing you how to get the different languages, we can do that as well. So for the next few minutes, we will give you an opportunity to fill out the survey, and in the next slide, you'll be able to see kind of where you would go to take the survey. All right, did everybody get a chance to fill out the survey? If you could raise your hand if you need a little bit more time, or if you need a paper copy. All right, I guess we're good. Thank you all so much for participating. So this data will help us understand what matters most in your daily life and in your neighborhood, and it will also help us understand where the city can focus its attention to make opportunities more accessible. So let's take a look at results from today's session. These are raw responses that you and the others here have submitted. We have not had the chance to analyze it. So the results are exactly, what you'll see is exactly what you shared. And I will walk through some of the highlights. So for what brought you to the session, so for what brought you to the session, I hope everybody attending here selected the last session, the nonprofit focus, multi-purpose center. We did have a few people that engaged online as well. For the question that we asked, where we wanted to know what areas affected data left the most, it looks like housing won by a lot. And the close second, or the next up was jobs and income. This is a little bit different than our other sessions where jobs and income has not on top. For the next one, I believe the third is health, and health and safety seem to be pretty close. And for when we asked you to identify what the most important driver of opportunity for you and the community, or your community are, you identified opportunity-rich neighborhoods and healthy environment and access to health care. And it seems like it's neck and neck. And do the drivers of opportunity listed above reflect the issues that matter most to your community? It seems like majority of you said yes, and some said somewhat. I'm glad that it doesn't say not really in this session. And for the biggest challenges accessing to city programs and services, we see that lack of awareness won by a lot, and that seems to be the trend across just all the sessions that we've had. Is the lack of awareness is the biggest barrier. So the data that we have collected today, it will help us refine our drivers of opportunity. So this was your opportunity to put in the feedback. If you didn't see something reflected, you are more than welcome to share it again. And what we've shared here, or what you've shared here, will be combined with all of the results from the previous sessions that we have had and the online results, and it will be analyzed and reported to our city council on the October 1st as well. So tune in then if you would like to learn more about what the results of the sessions were. And now I will hand it over to ACM.
Thank you. And thank you for completing the survey. Those of you who completed the surveys tonight, we're going to start to take live questions. And if we can't answer specific questions tonight, we will certainly document it and follow up with a response in our post-session materials. So if you go to where the survey is located, there's also a way for you to stay connected with us. We have uploaded, our team has uploaded the slide decks. We're receiving questions from people who have various interests and we're responding to them. So we have this new site called Social Pinpoint. And it's allowing us to engage with our communities in new ways, in different languages. And so we hope to use that as an opportunity to continue to connect with you. So if you gave your permission tonight, we're happy to keep you updated on these efforts as we move forward. Because as we have previously said, I think all the speakers saying, we're building this plane and flying it at the same time. And while we would normally spend months long in community engagement, briefing our various committees. We are on what I would call a compressed timeline, because we know that when you temporarily pause or suspend anything of this nature, of this importance, that it has a real impact on people's lives. And for instance, in the case of the arts funded, many of our artists are counting on that funding for their livelihoods, to commit to contracts, et cetera. And so we want to make sure that we're acting and responding as quickly as we can. So I want to, again, thank our team with the city who has worked day and night, really, starting in January, but intentionally in July, self-assessing our policies, our programs, giving recommendations to our city attorneys, receiving feedback from our city attorneys, and then taking that bundle of information to our city council as quickly as we could on August 6th. And then we told them, hey, we're going to turn around and do 5 community sessions, because we know that our community wants to hold us accountable, as well they should, and has questions and has concerns. So that's why we find ourselves here tonight, because community engagement really is a critical component of this whole entire process. So with that said, who's the first who'd like to raise their hand, ask a question, or make a comment about what you've heard this evening? Yes. Do we have roving mics? Is anyone else? Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you so much for this opportunity. My question is this particular...
Sorry, hold on, let's fix that.
Is this particular session being recorded?
We have a note taker, but we're not recording the session.
Okay. I would like to suggest that the city use their communications department to make sure that all of these sessions are hybrid, so that if people cannot come for whatever reason, in my case, there might be other disabled people that might want to come, and they are not able to come. They are homebound, but they are taxpaying citizens of the city of Dallas. And so I would strongly urge Madam City Assistant City Manager that when we have these types of neighborhood community meetings, that they be hybrid. And anytime any type of federal changes are coming down the pipeline, as was stated in the survey, lack of communication or information knowledge was the top concern. So would you please consider using your communications department to do hybrid when they do these types of sessions?
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to give that a round of applause. That's great. That's a really great response. And I will tell you that, Commissioner, we thought about that when we were discussing how we were going to set these engagement sessions up. And I think that given that input, that I certainly think we can do one on WebEx or Teams. We wanted to make sure that people felt like they could hold us accountable, that they were in a safe space, that we just didn't know with all the things changing how people would, our residents would interact. So that's why you don't see us recording it tonight. Our survey is anonymous. Want to give people the leeway to opt in, but not actually have to, raise their hand, my name is so-and-so. But that is a very great point. I think that we're going to go back and take that under consideration and see if we may be able to do an online version, given that input. Thank you. Yes, in the back.
Hello, my name is Mikaela Gutierrez-Talent. I'm with the arts program as a CAP, Arts, Academy, and Cultural Value. I think the first day for us, it was confusing because of the language was mixed in with SBA. So for a lot of us felt deflated on the first day, as well as not knowing where things are going to go, like you said, postponed or delayed or frozen. So even though it's only 2 months, for us 2 months is like a full 6 months because of lack of work. So that's the only thing I would suggest is the caution, if this happens again or any other situation, is have one where it's solely exclusive for artists to understand. Because our approach is different. And if I wouldn't have attended every meeting I would not have known how we got so confused for that first one. So that's why you saw a lot of artists not showing up the second, third, fourth, and fifth. And it's only because I've been coming, because I wanted to understand. Now I understand why so many of us were confused at the end. So I think that has to also be looked at or thought of as well, because it is a different conversation. Like, I didn't know Julia had left, but just to ever have that communication like that, it's pending, but the reasons why, like the verbiage to who we are within the brown and black community, how much is that going to change, especially in the community arts program, because 90% of us are brown and black. So because DEI, so that was the question I had for her, because a lot of us are not knowing what's going to happen moving forward.
That's great, and just really impressed by your interest in coming to all these sessions, because I know that I'm tired of hearing my voice, but you coming almost every session because of your interest and your passion for this work. It's just incredibly commendable to me, inspiring to me. Outside of my official role as the person, I think that we were working on the first one to get a lot of information out, and it was our first one, and it happened to be at Latino Cultural Center, and it was centered on arts funding. And I think some of our questions left our community present. There were over 100 people there for that one, with a lot of concern, as you said, Michaela, and also that we didn't have concrete responses. We didn't know when our timeline was going to be for turning our funding programs into specific timelines to get to our artist groups, et cetera. So that was what we took away from that meeting. Hey team, we need to make a timeline, and it needs to be certain dates because people are relying on this funding. And as you see from Julia, they have come through. They have worked to make sure that our artists, our funding community, our communities that are funded by our artist programs and artist funding have those specific timelines. But certainly that was one of our highest priorities because these programs are currently activated. Same thing with our business inclusion policy. We know that we had to pause it, and people could really be impacted by that. They had a workshop today, attended by well over 100 people. How many people were there, Lisa?
We had probably 75 for this one that we had to do this semester.
Right, and so getting feedback from our stakeholders in the small business community was critically important, and doing it on an expedited timeline again, because small businesses are impacted by these temporary pauses. So we hear you. We're working as quickly as we can. We want to get back to our council as soon as we can, and that has been one of our highest priorities. Thank you for bearing with us as we figure this out together. Thank you. Well, another question or comment?
Yes. Hi, my name is Emily Ladko. I'm a program coordinator for Healthy Computers of Texas. I was just wondering where we were as far as supporting public health education, so like prevention education. I noticed with the teen birth driver of opportunity, there wasn't anything about public health education going along with that. Just as important as neonatal health is, it's really important for a young person to even know that that is important. So yeah, I was just wondering if you had anything.
Thank you for flagging that issue. I'm going to ask my colleague Jessica Galashaw to speak to that. She's the director of the Office of Community Care and Empowerment. Within that program for that office is our WIC program.
Hello. Oh, it's on. I turned mine off so you can
It's on.
activate yours.
Hello?
Yes.
It's on.
It's on. It is on? It's on?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yes, okay, so I think that the way that you can see things like that show up, I don't think that something like health education or health promotion is going to show up as a quote drivers of opportunity within the framework, but I think that there's room to look at that framework or even refine the framework to articulate where those types of things might fit, and also to think about, again, the role of the city and where do we come into play with that effort. Is it around the promotion? Is it around the kind of amplification side of it? Because the city isn't traditionally thought of as a health provider.
However, the city does a lot of things that contribute to public health. I mean, we build sidewalks, which promotes public health. We have recreation centers with physical activity. That is a direct public health initiative, right? We administer WIC, which lines right up with what you talked about, of course, with neonatal health and other things in that area. So what I would say to that is I think that what we're looking at is a framework, and we haven't necessarily dug into all the prescriptive programs yet. And as we work on this framework, then we're going to get into the data component of it, and we're going to move on to the next iteration of it, which our next step, we're looking at creating a community opportunity index, community opportunity assessment index, which is going to have, of course, critical data points, all things that align with the framework, and also that we can, work within our kind of federal framework as well, and start moving that forward. So this isn't a closed conversation, it's a first version or first and a half version, and then we'll kind of move forward with something, and then we'll really get into that kind of deep data effort, start creating those assessments, start creating those tools, and use that to help us make decisions on where we're going to invest our resources, and use our feedback to also determine where and how we're going to align the city's role in those efforts.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we have time for 2 more questions. So if you have a question, yes. Behind you, Mr. Munoz.
I don't think I have a question, I have an observation, which is that the anchor organizations that were listed on the slide, as well as the Drivers of Opportunity, were missing dedicated stakeholders to represent people with disabilities. And I feel like that is room for improvement, as if we think about accessibility as being sort of the foundation that we need to build all of these things on, because accessibility helps all communities, not only disabled individuals, but everyone. So just observations at the risk of sounding like money morning quarterback. My name is Jenny Stonemeyer. I'm the Executive Director of REACH. And I'm really grateful to be here and have been late to this conversation. So whoever sent the email, thank you very much.
So glad you received it, and so glad for the insights. And we have our team with our Office of Equity and Inclusion that includes our ADA work, our work around human rights. And so we welcome your input, and we hope you continue to stay engaged with us, because as we said, this is a work in progress. And you're part of, I think, a co-creator in making this framework speak to our specific population groups out there. So it gives me thought about the Community Opportunity Index that Jessica referenced. How do we include in that information about our communities with different abilities, et cetera? So thank you, and I hope you remain engaged. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alethea West, and the question that I have, and also maybe a solution, as I listened to the presentations tonight, you all were stating how due to some of the executive orders coming from the federal government, you have to stop some things and kind of reassess, create a new framework. What I would like to know, so this is my question, when you all collect this information data from the citizens and then go back to analyze this information so that you can eventually present to the city council, the people who are analyzing the information, your stakeholders, is that group diverse? Because if the federal government is sending things down where we want to not consider diversity, equity, and inclusion, some of the components of that. However, I do know that the people who are helping to restructure things can be diverse solely based on the population of the city. So when I looked at the numbers, so I'm gonna get you, so when I looked at the demographic numbers for Dallas, so we got like 1.3 million people, and you have 41% white and 23% African American, and then 0.08 Native American, and 41% Hispanic. So since those are the census numbers, the demographics, would the group that's developing the framework, will they be diverse so that people from these communities will be represented in the creation of the new framework?
Excellent observation, thank you, because our population in Dallas is, as you say, a very rich tapestry of population groups. And our goal in having these sessions is to make sure that our rich tapestry of communities is represented in the dialogue, right? And so we had some at our central library, we had one at Latino Cultural Center, and we had one in Martin Luther King Junior Community Center. Now we're here in West Dallas, and we will have one online, given our input today, this evening. So the intentionality is there of how do we reach people from very different backgrounds? How do we make sure that we have interpretation services available for different language groups? Certainly the intention is there to have our representation of our population groups in the city a part of the community. But again, you're gonna grade our paper at the end of this process. You're gonna tell us, did you reach a diverse number of people across different sectors, et cetera? Certainly is our intention. I don't know if any one of my colleagues would like to add to that, but that's the response. Does it answer your question?
No, because what I was speaking about, of course, you know, you get in the data from the people, but the stakeholders and the decision makers that's going to be establishing that framework from the information that you collected from the people, is that group going to be diverse, or is it already diverse to assimilate? I mean, not assimilate, to that's similar.
Are you talking
to
about our staff, our council?
Whoever's going to be creating the framework for all the different programs within for the city. So I mean, I know you have numerous programs and boards, and so will that be with those groupings be diverse to represent the people of the city? So
Well,
that's
you have some of the framers right in front of you. These are the people that have spoken this evening, and the people that are here at these tables. They're the people that are building up this framework, and we hope that it reflects the best of our community's rich tapestry of people. And as well as our council members, right? Because they're going to also tell us how we have done and where we need to make some shifts or changes and give input, et cetera. So this process is an attempt to be reflective, right, of our community. Because we are here tonight to receive your input, but also I think that our staff, also our team, is intentional about representation, making sure that we have people from various backgrounds of experience, of lived experience, of profession, right? You heard Jessica speak, she has that experience in social work and in community nonprofit development. We heard our assistant director of procurement speak. She has the background in business inclusion policies, working with aviation, et cetera. You heard Sarah Cotton Nelson speak. She was the chief of philanthropy at Communities Foundation in Texas, and so on and so forth. Right? So each one of us brings something unique, but also an expertise to this process. But I don't want to overinflate, our capabilities, but we do have a passion for this work, and we're working to ensure that we're building on a strong foundation that's reflective of our communities and reflective of our needs, and then we'll have impact where we may have.
Yeah, and I'll just add that when I first moved to Dallas, that was not the case. And that was 27 years ago. It was not uncommon to walk into a room and all of the decision makers and key stakeholders were white. That is totally different today, and has been really for the last 10 years. Any meeting that the city is pulling together in terms of leadership on these kind of programs for the last 10 years, it's an incredibly diverse room, and I can vouch for that.
I'll just add an additional comment. So the individuals you have here today represent larger teams that are working on this. So for instance, with our business inclusion and development policy, as we transition into the new small business program, part of our stakeholder meetings are not just with individual firms that represent small businesses, but who are the advocacy agencies that work within those industries. So we're working with the Black Contractors Association, the Regional Hispanic Contractors Association, the Chamber Associations. We're looking at the small business programs. So we know we can't get to every individual firm, but we're also bringing in the groups that represent those different communities, and for us, it's about those different levels of firms, the primes, the subs, the diversity within the trades, so that we can get as much data and input as we design these new programs and develop the framework, so that if every individual can't be present, at least their overall voices being heard by their representatives that are going to work with us as well.
Okay, thank you.
Great insight, thank you. Yes, one more.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming out and just taking out the time to speak to us community residents here. My name is Dalton Sherman. I am the co-founder of Ultimate Experience and Exposure nonprofit organization within the DFW Metroplex. And I just wanted to ask a quick question. I saw on the screen from the survey data collected that the top 3 sort of drivers of opportunity amongst community residents here was, I believe, gainful employment, healthy environment, access to quality healthcare, as well as public safety and well-being. And my question was just I wanted to know if the framework that you all are recreating or restructuring to adhere to the executive orders that have been passed, is it going to be created with a focus on ensuring that communities are moving towards becoming blue zones that are going to have that are going to be promoting longevity of life, as well as well-being, better quality of life for residents within those communities that are experiencing racial disparities?
Thank you for that. And is that a suggestion that you're making, that we should include blue zones into our framework?
Well, currently there exist no blue zones in the city of Dallas, so I think that would be a great thing to aspire towards when creating this framework. So that is a suggestion, yes.
I appreciate that, and I look forward to us having further conversation. And that we have right next to you is our Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability that's represented, as well as our community care. The lived environment is very important, right, for longevity. And Ms. Galasha also has within her portfolio of work age-friendly policies. How are we making Dallas a more welcoming place for people who are aging, right? And so, intriguing idea, and one I think we should explore. So thank you. Well, with that, we're going to try to do this let out again and have a little community coffee. I don't see any coffee. It's not time for coffee. I see lemonade and community tea and some fruit. And what else do we have over there, Ashley?
We have hummus and ham and crackers and fruit.
Healthy. And so thank you for being here, and we look forward to further conversation. Let's give it up for the team up here. Good morning.
push requests.
Oh yeah, been busy. Yeah.
Do you know Melinda from my office? I don't know if y'all have actually met.
Oh, okay. Nice to
So
meet
she
you.
took my spot. So she's the chief of staff in the office now.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll try to be easy on you. So yeah.
Marco loves your emails because he's like, everything's time stamped. He gives me all my info I need. And
Yeah, I mean, see why, from years of government work, but yeah, you just got to make sure that everybody knows what you're talking about. 2745 community / West Northwest Highway is still an issue. I'm just trying to get somebody to touch it. Nobody's touching it. So now I've gotten to the point where when I can't get anybody to engage, I just take care of it myself. So like 3440 Northwest Webb's Chapel Extension, you know where the Fiesta is and all that?
Yes.
So yeah, right. So what's happened is I had some erosion problems. What was happening is that when it rains or when it's particularly dry, what happens is they have trees that grew over there. Killed all the grass. Soil goes over onto the sidewalk, makes it slippery. Put in multiple tickets. The last ticket I had, I sent it to code enforcement, and the code enforcement people told me, "Oh, well, there's nothing we can do about it, Mr. Young." I said, "Can y'all put some kind of barrier or something?" No, the barrier wouldn't help. The wind would just blow it back up there. So completely dismissing any kind of solution. So I basically went down to Home Depot, and I'm getting ready to install the barrier myself. And then on top of that, I'm going to try to go down to Callaway's nursery, and I'm going to see if I can find grasses or some kind of thing that can grow in low light environments. And I'll have to take care of myself, because that's what it's gotten to that point where I ask for help, I don't get the help, I'm on my own.
Well, make sure you send things to us too, because we can also ask from our office too.
Yeah, and I said that to Marco, letting him know what was going on with that. But I'll let him know also at that budget meeting that we have. But I'll let you know again. So it's I hate having to do double work because each one of these tickets, you saw, like I said, the attention to detail takes time.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I know, they took away my 311 access because I used to be able to do it on the backside. Now I have to call 311.
Well, see, that was the thing, and so I've been talking to Silvio. We had an issue. There's a bug right now where it tells you that Android 8 users can use the 311 app, but they can't. So anybody less than 15 right now, there's a bug. What's happening is it can't do the security. It can't access your camera, and it can't access your storage. It's something.
I've been having problems on my regular iPhone too. Because it'll say, I'll start entering it, and when I push enter, it won't let me enter it. So that's why when I end up calling myself, because I don't know, it seems like there's a bug or something.
There is a bug. So what I'm asking you is, do you know what version of the iOS you're running?
Find out.
Okay, update to the latest version. Try uninstall it. The latest version of the 311 app is 10.02. So maybe that'll fix your issue. But the problem that they're having is,
The Android is not working at all.
well, see, what happens is every time there's a different Android version, especially if you got older versions, the people who develop Android, they move the folders around. So when you develop a new thing, all of a sudden they're saying, "Hey, I'm trying to point over here. I'm trying to find your permissions," and it's like, well, you're not going to find those permissions. They were in a different location than the old versions. Developers, I think, kind of know this, but they're lazy. They don't want to fix it. They just do their own little thing. So I think what y'all are going to wind up having to do is, and I'm afraid of this, is they're just going to go with the cheapest solution. They're just going to say, "We no longer support older versions of Android. You're just going to have to use the latest and greatest," which is tough for people who can't afford the latest and greatest. So. All I can do is give you the information. It's what you do with it, and like I said, I do have two arms and kind of a brain. So if I don't get any kind of feedback, if I don't get any kind of solution, they call it a do-ocracy. And the bottom line is that people can learn to just do things on their own. And so that's that. And Obama used to joke about that. He talked about the ownership society, and he was making fun of Republicans. They were saying, if you need help with this, you're on your own. If you need to pay for this, you're on your own. And sometimes when I'm dealing with the city of Dallas, it feels like I'm on my own. So anyway.
I appreciate what you turn in, and I'll follow up with Marco to see what's going on.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Good to see you.
Have a nice evening, Laura.
Yeah.
you were, so that's what, I'm gonna not make them anything new, we already had it. Okay, that's just kind of the concept for this moment. And there's a lot of people.
Yes, Cameron. Cameron. We got more information.
But I'm gonna let it percolate in my head. I'll let it percolate in yours. Because I was just thinking about it. I'm not gonna really pursue it until somebody comes up and asks me. Now you got it. So you my confirmation. Do you know Robert Munoz?
Yeah, he was telling me who he was when I walked
Richard,
up.
man, it's good to see you, man. I know it's been a while. I know I'm in a different uniform now. My apologies. Casual uniform.
I wanted to meet you. She's in Justice and Police Department. Justice Community Police Department. He's formally a sergeant, and we work together. When I first got to the city, we worked a lot with serving our immigrants. So now,
We're doing it.
he's on this side now. Still doing great work.
Let me know. Appreciate you. We'll talk soon. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't get to answer my question, but I'll just ask it right here. So,
What's your name? I've seen you.
Wayman Young.
Wayman.
Yes.
So nice to meet you.
Yes. So I only had one question, and it's going to be kind of a tough one. So, like y'all might run into situations where you get into a Sophie's Choice kind of situation where you have two nonprofit organizations that are equally deserving. They both meet the metric guidelines, but in one case you might have like say you have two churches. Both are pretty much equal when it comes to looking at all the different things. One church, predominantly white congregation, one church, traditionally African American congregation. With these new DEI initiatives that are coming in, what metrics and processes are you going to be having to use to break that tie?
A tie between what? Like, what's the competition?
So, like I said, in the past, you might have had like a diversity in education or diverse DEI kind of thing that might have helped out in that situation. Yes, but now you don't have that. So, does it come down to a coin toss, or what does it come down to?
It's a great question. And so, as we're building up this new framework, we know our population in Dallas, right? We know our population groups, if you will, our demographics. Right? And we also know where there's highest needs.
Right.
Based on income, based on home ownership, based on education levels. And so, frankly, even if you extract those indicators that we're not allowed to use right now, race, ethnicity, gender, we know where there's needs. And so emphasis is still going to remain on investing in those areas of highest need. And so when we're talking about building up this framework, it's to, okay, let's say we're going to do, as an example, HUD funding, right? That HUD funding and that plan is built on the frameworks that we come up together with, right? And so right now, they're using a framework based on the racial equity. And so they have to revise it, right? To shuffle the dominoes again. And so we're saying, hey, don't just be random, make it intentional to fit opportunity drivers, right? And then, in addition, we want you to focus on where we know there are areas of the greatest needs in our city. And so that's why we're developing this index, this tool called Community Opportunity Tool Index. It's going to show us where those highest needs are. So it's not going to be a selfish choice because we're going to be, with our residents, intentional about where do we make those investments.
So like an economic driver would be one of the new metrics that you would have to use. The other problem is, maybe you have so I don't know if you have like Mesquite or the Bald Spring kind of area. Does y'all deal with any of that?
Not just the city.
Just the city. Okay. Okay. So
we have some. We go all the way up Pleasant Grove.
Right. So like I was like,
West Dallas.
Right, because like you have a scenario where you've got residents in South Dallas, they're hurting, they need house, the HUD thing. But then on top of that, you might have somebody like in Bald Springs and then trailer parks. And like you said, you got one community black, one community white, And so now you got to sit here and try to figure out. It's like, okay, I don't have the metrics maybe for DEI like I used to. What are we going to have to do? Like they're both equally poor. That throws another logjam into
You just named it. We're
Yeah.
going to look at socioeconomic status.
Yeah.
We're going to look at socioeconomic status and invest in those areas where there's greatest needs.
Yeah.
Or we're going to look for in terms of library resources. What are the language barriers we have in the community? Or what's the high school nutrition rate?
Well, like in my neighborhood where like the average education level is like, I know people and I talk to people and they do the demographics. We have people that didn't even graduate they barely graduated from grade school. They don't speak English. They don't say anything. And so nothing ever changes in our neighborhoods. Yes, I'm over there. You know where the house blew up, where the gas line explosion happened? No, not in Farmers Branch. We were the ones over there off of Espanola, and that's basically the Love Field area. And so our area, to give you an example, like when I started doing this, last year I said, well, let me go ahead, and I was like, it's time to stop complaining and start doing some action. So I went to walking back to this bad neighborhood over there off of Webb Chapel, and I looked down, and there was a manhole cover that was missing in the middle of the sidewalk. Now, I had stopped walking in that area after the COVID pandemic because I said it's dangerous, I don't want to go back there, but that hole was always there. And I said, why hasn't this been filled in yet? And so it's one of those things in my neighborhood where there are problems, but I get the feeling like it's neglected. And I don't know if it's neglect because of certain, I don't want to think negative, but I want to think that maybe it's because people don't say anything. So.
They don't complain. They don't hold us accountable.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, this was the first time people put up there as number one, don't know about resources. I mean, it has been at the top 3, but it's not been the number 1.
Yeah.
And I agree that if we're not doing a good job about getting out our resources, we need to start using these opportunities, right, to connect with residents and then help them educate on, hey, you call 311 if there's a hole.
Yeah.
You call this guy, our community engagement team, or this gentleman over here,
Right.
and let them know that we have a hole that's not covered.
Yeah.
And somebody will slip through, injure themselves or something worse,
Right.
And they're going to get on with CPW, Transportation and Public Works, and make sure that, I did that the other day, walking downtown, behind the backside of the library. And I call, but I'm an assistant city manager. But we need to have our residents understand.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to take you off. Just one more question. So here, and I know you're tired. You want to get out of there. So just one more thing. Are you aware of the issue with the 311 app, though?
Which issue?
So I have an issue where I'm an Android user, and there's a bug in it to where I can't submit photos on tickets, and so that's been a big issue. I've been trying to talk to the developer.
I have a response there. You need to use Apple, like I tell my husband.
Yeah, some iOS use. Oh, so you have iOS? Okay, all right. So that's.
No, I'm kidding. Robert, have we fixed that glitch in the 311 where the 311
Yes,
app?
they did. I saw it this morning.
Which glitch?
The 311 service request?
No, what's happening is he can't use his Android to upload pictures.
Yeah, so yeah, so it's a permissions issue within the Android. Yeah, and I've been talking to Silvio about it also, but I just wanted to make y'all aware of it as well.
No, please do, because like I said, they did send an email out, but if we have anything that we can address, we can push it over to Salesforce and make sure that we address the process.
Yeah, no, I'm going to talk to so yeah, Jennifer, I guess she'll let you to give me that.
Talk to Jennifer already?
Yeah, I talked to her, I sent her screenshots, gave her an idea of what might be happening, so I think what's happening is, so the way Android works is whenever they release new versions, sometimes they move where things go in certain folders.
Do we have to upgrade it? Do we have to update it?
Doesn't work. So what happened was they released 10.02, the new version, and I tried it out, same issue. So there's something going on with whoever their developer is for the Android part of it. He doesn't quite understand where the permissions are. He's just using a general template of the newest version, and the problem is older versions, they move the folders around, so it's pointing to something that's not there in the older version. Yeah, so that's something they got to fix as developers. But I'm just making people aware of it. I'm also trying to pick people's brains, because even as city employees, y'all don't have to use it. Y'all can use the Salesforce app and get to it directly. And it would be nice to have that access, but that means I would have to have an account. It's in the city, and that's a whole security problem. So
And that's what we have a lot, and that's what, we encourage our residents to download the app, and to your point, yes.
Yeah.
It can be a concern about where information is going to.
So that's why I was going to ask you, what are you using?
I got an old school, what is this?
That's an Android. I mean, that's an Apple phone. So,
Yep.
and is it working for you?
So far it is.
Okay, you mind if I'm sorry. I'll turn my head as you unlock
What are you
it.
looking for?
Let me, the 311 app.
Oh, the 311 app?
Yeah.
Sure, don't be late.
Okay, so let's say I create a new request. No problem. I spot an issue. There it is. Create a new request. So here's the cool thing: is you say start out with a photo.
Say wait for it, yeah.
That it doesn't work for you. That's interesting. So you have the same problem. There we go. Okay, see, that was the problem.
Camera permission. So I don't have permission.
Yeah, but
I gotta open it up, right?
Yeah, but see, okay, so here we go. Right now it's asking permission. I say allow. There we go. Okay, so you have that works. All right, so hit the X. All right, so I do code concern because I'm just gonna make a fake ticket, and you don't have to go all the way through. You can cancel it anytime. So yes, and then it goes here, and then I hit that. Okay, so good. You have So I don't have this. I hit the button, it won't let me do it.
So where do you get stuck at?
I get stuck here. So okay, so there we go. We're gonna limit access because I don't want to give you everything. So you can access. So what it can do is so on iOS, it can access the camera and it can access the storage. But on mine, it can't do those two things. But it can do the third thing. If I hit this right here, it can access my folders all day long. So I know what that software bug is. And I reported that to them and let them know, but I just wanted to see if an iOS user, what you're using, so yours works.
When's the last time you talked to Jennifer or Jason?
This morning. So I didn't talk to them. I sent them
Did you
emails.
email them?
Yeah, emailed them back. Wayman Young.
Okay, no, then it was someone different. Too. They had an issue with it. But they addressed, I believe they addressed it.
Well, if they did, they put a 1003 on there, so I haven't tried it out yet. I can test it out right now if you'd like.
They're the tech persons when it comes to that, but yeah, every time we get initiated, we'll initiate the request.
Yeah, I mean, before it was like I had a problem with the photos. It would that thing was a nightmare to deal with the photos. So here's an example of what I do. There's mine.
Yeah.
And this is Android 11.
Okay, gotcha.
So I'll show you what's happening. Oh,
Create new request.
yeah. So create new request. Mine it doesn't let me do start with a photo. There we go. Start with a photo. So here's the weird part about the bug. So start from the phone. You can see, so it can access my phone right here. It can access the camera. Cool. But I say I don't want to do that. I want to go code concern. And then I said, this is your request? Yes. Running kind of slow on mine. So then I say, take photo. Look at that. Nothing. Nothing. I do upload photo. Unable to access. But wait a minute. It's saying that you don't have permissions. But as you can see here, I gave it all the permissions.
Yes, gotcha.
Okay, so then I go back. I say, well, let me try to upload the document. Oh yeah, I can access your files just fine.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a weird bug.
I mean, it's working for some of us, but I guess could it be the phone?
So I have two phones. This is running Android 11.
Android.
The other version is running Android 10. Your website says that it's supposed to be able to run on Android 8. I've talked to people. I talked to one of your 301 guys out there in the front. He had Android 15, worked just fine. So I think it's an Android version issue.
Probably so.
Yeah.
So, well, do you want me to revisit with Jason or
I just letting y'all know, like I said, you are now.
We'll let her know.
Yeah, and I've let Jennifer know about it.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know because I want everybody, to know that, hey, by the way, there is an issue. So there's a bug.
I'll bring it to his attention.
All right.
Thank you for coming out. Robert Munoz.
Wayman.
Nice to meet you. Wayman.
Thanks, Robert.
All right, have a good day.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Didn't know this was you,
Wow, it's automated.